Should you buy your home or rent forever? For some of you, it might be more obvious to buy a home because that's what your parents did, or you might think that renting is just throwing away money. For others, you might think that renting is better because you have more flexibility in where you live, or because of the peace of mind you have when something breaks, all you have to do is call the landlord and everything magically gets fixed, right? This has been a long-standing debate with good arguments on both sides. Ultimately, you have to do what's best for you and your family because whatever you decide will impact your life and financial wealth. It is literally one of, if not the biggest financial decisions you'll make. So in this video, I will explain the difference between buying a home and renting. And by the end of it, you will understand the financial impacts of both. If that sounds good to you, please give this video a like and let's dive in. All right, so let's start with owning a home. Oftentimes, people associate home ownership with living the American dream. And the main reason why is because of its ability to accumulate wealth. You see, the average net worth of homeowners is 80 times larger than renters, according to the US Census Bureau. And owning a home encourages intergenerational home ownership and wealth. So children of homeowners tend to transition to home ownership much sooner, which extends the time period they can accumulate more wealth and pass down to their children. All of that sounds good, but let me give you some solid financial advantages of owning a home. For one, it is usually a good investment. In general, real estate appreciates in value over time, about 3 to 4% annually. So if you buy a home for $400,000, it should be worth about $475,000 in 5 years. And if you choose to sell your home at that point, you would not have to pay any capital gains tax on the sale up to $500,000 for married couples. Two, owning a home hedges your risk against inflation. Right now, we see that inflation is at an all-time high. And if you don't know, inflation is a decrease in purchasing power. So basically, a dollar doesn't buy you as much as it used to a few years ago. And this is shown in the general increase in prices and things like interest rates. So when you own your home, you can lock in a fixed interest rate. So as inflation and interest rates increase, you can avoid paying higher interest later on. Your cost of living is fixed regardless of the market and inflation. The same is not true for rent, which sees an average increase of 3 to 5% annually. The next advantage of owning a home is building equity. Equity is the portion of the home that you have already paid off. So if you put down a 20% down payment, your starting equity would be 20% of the home value. As you make your monthly mortgage payments, your home equity grows and gives you more borrowing power. So this means as a homeowner, you have the flexibility to take money out of your home in the form of a home equity loan. These loans can be used to fund some home improvement projects, your child's education, an emergency fund, a new car, or anything else for that matter. You essentially have more access to cash when you own a home. The fourth advantage is the tax incentives of home ownership. You're able to deduct mortgage interest and property taxes on your annual tax return. During the first several years of paying a mortgage, most of your monthly payments are going toward interest, which means at the end of the year, there is a large tax deduction you can take. You're also able to deduct what you paid in property taxes as well. Okay, so you have some of the financial advantages of owning a home, but what are the disadvantages? For one, there are higher upfront costs to home ownership. When you buy a home, you typically need 20% of the purchase price as a down payment. This could easily mean at least $30,000. Not to mention the cost of an appraisal, which is required to secure a mortgage underwriting fees, and home inspection costs. The second disadvantage, and probably one of the biggest financial disadvantages to owning a home, are the maintenance costs. It doesn't matter if the AC goes out, the sink is leaking, or if you stumbled across a pest problem in the basement. You are solely responsible. There isn't a landlord to call. In fact, you can think of yourself as the landlord when you own a home. And if you think you won't have much to fix or those problems are far and few between, I can tell you that 99% of the time, there's usually almost always something that needs to be fixed, updated, or routinely maintained in a home. Besides just repairs, there's also potential costs like lawn maintenance, shoveling snow, and cleaning the gutters. There's a 1% rule when it comes to home maintenance, which is you'll pay about 1% of the home's purchase price in maintenance annually. Another disadvantage to home ownership is the long-term commitment. Life happens, and maybe you change jobs or go through a divorce, and your household income is just not as high as it was when you first bought the home. Those facts would not change your mortgage payment or property tax obligations. Now, you could sell your house or refinance your mortgage in these circumstances, but doing so would come at a cost as well in the form of refinancing fees and the selling costs to sell a home. Okay, there's another disadvantage to owning a home that you should know. It's not really one of your traditional disadvantages you hear people talking about, but I think it's worth bringing up. And that's the opportunity cost of owning a home. Think of opportunity cost as the loss of potential gain from other alternatives when one alternative is chosen. So stay with me. So what potential gain are you missing out on by owning? What other opportunities could you take advantage of with money saved that could have went toward a down payment, but instead goes to something else? Well, for it to be better than owning a home, it would have to be some kind of investment vehicle like the stock market. See, the argument here is that it's possible that you can earn more money from investing in the stock market or other investments than from buying a home. For example, let's say you invested $30,000 in the stock market today. Based on the average growth rate of the stock market at 7%, you would have over $55,000 10 years from now. If that $30,000 went to a down payment, it would be locked in the value of the home, and it would certainly not be worth a penny over $30,000. The bottom line is that there is an opportunity cost to owning a home, and it is completely possible to earn returns from investing in other things besides your residence. All right, let's move on to the advantages and disadvantages of renting a home, starting first with the advantages. The first advantage to renting is the lower upfront cost. Renting does not require a traditional down payment like owning does. There's no need to save up $30,000 to rent an apartment. Most landlords do require some kind of security deposit that's usually first or last month's rent, but that's normally it. And if the unit is in good condition at the end of your lease, you can expect to get that deposit back. The second advantage to renting is no maintenance cost or repair cost. When you rent, your landlord is responsible for maintenance, repairs, and improvements. If something breaks or stops working, you call the landlord and they're required to fix it. Depending on your lease, you might be required to contribute to repairs that are a direct result of your actions. But if you're taking care of the unit, this shouldn't be the case. Another advantage to renting is that you don't have to pay property taxes. Renters don't pay property tax. Property tax can be a huge burden on homeowners. Property taxes are calculated by estimating property value, the amount of land the property sits on, and location. And depending on those factors, not paying property taxes is a major cost savings. The fourth advantage is that renters typically have lower utility and insurance costs. Many landlords cover some of the utility costs for tenants like garbage, water, and even internet. Furthermore, rental units typically have more efficient floor plans, which makes them cheaper to heat and power than a traditional single-family home. Insurance costs also tend to be lower with renting than owning. Homeowners insurance is required when owning and usually does not cover everything inside of the home. Renters insurance, however, is much cheaper than homeowners insurance and basically covers everything inside of your unit. The average cost of homeowners insurance is around $1,300 per year compared to $180 per year for renters insurance. All right, moving right along here to some disadvantages of renting. The first being that it's not an investment. You aren't building any equity in the rental property. All you take with you when you leave is yourself and your belongings. Basically, it's your home, but not your asset. The second disadvantage is that there aren't any tax incentives for renting. You can't write off your rent payments, and as we know with owning a home, you can write off the interest portion of your mortgage payments. The third disadvantage is that rent costs are not fixed. Landlords can increase their rent at any time. You don't know if they'll increase it by $20 or $200 or more. You're pretty much at their mercy. In addition to rising rent, they can also decide to sell the property at any time, forcing you to look for a new place to live and incur additional moving costs. Okay, I just gave you a lot of financial information to think about when considering buying or renting a home. You learned that buying is an investment, with real estate generally going up in value over time. You build equity in a home by making your mortgage payments, which allows you to take money out of your home if needed. You also hedge your risk against inflation, and there's some tax incentives. Buying also comes at a cost, which includes property taxes, maintenance costs, and higher upfront costs. Renting can also be a good thing since there are no maintenance costs, no property taxes, and lower upfront costs. Pitfall of renting, however, is the fact that it is not an investment, there aren't any tax incentives, and rent costs are not fixed. Got it? Okay, lastly, I want to mention some of the non-financial lifestyle pros and cons of buying and renting. With owning a home, there's a pride associated with that. It's your property, it's your community. And 9 times out of 10, when you buy a home, you're planning on staying in that home for at least 5 to 10 years or more. It's more of a stable environment for you. You're also free to redecorate and renovate your property as you wish. Now, with all of that, buying does come with its fair share of stress. Stress when looking for a property, buying a property, renovating a property, or even just when something breaks, it is your responsibility, and all of that can be stressful for a homeowner. Which brings me to renting. There's a certain peace of mind you have with renting. You don't have to worry about how things are going to get fixed or maintaining a yard. You're free to move around as often as you'd like. If after living somewhere and you don't like it, you're not obligated to stay there. Or maybe you travel a lot and don't want all of the responsibilities of owning. Renting will definitely be a lot less stressful. Also, if you like the amenities that usually come with renting, this is also a benefit. Having a gym, pool, or game room might be something you really want to have on a day-to-day basis. But with that, you're also having to share these spaces with others, and it is not customized to your liking. And you're also not able to customize and decorate your unit how you would like. All right, you made it to the end of this video. Hopefully I was able to clear up the major financial and non-financial differences between buying and renting a home. Ultimately, you should seriously consider the financial impacts of both, but you should also know the non-financial lifestyle considerations as well. If this video was at all helpful for you, please let me know in the comments and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on future videos. I'm Crystal at Life Accounting, and I'll see you in the next video.